Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcagiani in the house with Dave Korsunsky from Heads Up Health. Today we're going to be talking about ways to track your biometrics, your blood glucose, slash your continuous glucose monitor, your biometric data, functional medicine test. I see this as a big problem in the functional medicine field. People got all this data. How do you consolidate it? How do you track it? How do you measure it? How do you monitor it? We'll be talking to Dave all about that today. Dave, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Doc, thanks for having me on the show. Awesome to reconnect with you. It's been far too long, my friend.
Absolutely, brother. So tell us a little bit more about people that haven't kind of understood about your software, about Heads Up. Just give us like that elevator pitch. Like, what does it do? What's the big value of why anyone should even get it?
Yeah, there's really two things to think about, Doc. First is how do you actually measure that your health is improving? Everyone listening to your show is trying to make improvements in their health, their thyroid health, their body composition changes. They want to sleep better, eat better, feel better, reverse their chronic condition. But really, as an individual, how do you actually measure that it's working? So what we do at Heads Up is we make your health measurable. We give you the tools to give you empowerment and agency so you can actually see the changes in real time. That's when it becomes really, really motivating. And I remember when I was working with you, Doc, as you were my functional doctor, and you
Hmm.
might remember I was putting all my labs in a spreadsheet back at the time. But that was the only way I could see the changes from test to test to test. And I was going on supplement protocols and I was trying different recommendations that you were giving me. And we were monitoring those thyroid markers in a spreadsheet. And just being able to see all that information as a medical layperson, I wasn't the doctor, but it helped me better understand the changes I was making and whether or not they were working. So that's what we want to provide to everybody in a really simple, accessible way. Is just to give you the tools to measure and understand your own health and make sure it's moving in the right direction.
I absolutely love that. So you've been doing this for many years. You guys have grown your company up. I remember just a few years back, much smaller. Now you've grown to a much bigger company, way more services, way more lab integrations. Out of
Yeah,
all the people that are kind of using your services, what are the top two or three things people are really using you the most for?
I would say if you're an individual consumer, okay, like
Yep.
you're self managing your own health at this stage in the game. I would say some of the most popular things we see people using us for are measuring their sleep quality. So typically they're
Hmm.
using something like an Aura Ring or a
Yep.
Cardio Mood or something that's measuring really, really precise sleep measurement. And when I say sleep, I mean things like the quality of your sleep, your resting heart rate variability. So I'd say the first one is sleep monitoring, Aura being the most common.
Mm.
The second one that I know you and I want to talk about a little bit more here today are what's called continuous glucose monitors. And
Hmm.
these are just little patches you wear on the back of your arm or on the stomach.
Like this.
You,
This is a
yeah,
Libre 3 right
exactly.
there.
Yeah, I use the Dexcom. But these are game changers because what these devices do is they put the power back to the people and
Mm.
they let you see your blood sugar values in real time. And the thing with blood glucose is that it's a little bit different for everybody. Two people eat a banana, okay? One person sees their glucose go up, one person actually might see it go down. Same banana. So if you go look at the American Diabetes Association recommendations, or you look at it just based on the amount of carbohydrates listed on the label, you're not getting the full story. So this lets you actually see what happens to your blood sugar after you eat different things, after you fast, after you exercise, and that lets you make real time adjustments. So here's a really good example, Doc. You go have some lunch and you have, let's say you go for Thai food and they bring you a side of rice with the Thai food, right? And you have the Thai food and you have maybe half of the cup of rice, for instance, and you're watching your glucose monitor, it's taking readings every 5 minutes right to your phone. Wow, after that meal, my blood sugar went to 180 milligrams per deciliter. Right, that's way too high postprandial. So
Totally.
what was it? Well, okay, I had some veggies and some chicken. That probably wasn't it. I probably had too much rice. So the next time you have a quarter cup of rice, I'm not saying you got to completely eliminate it. Maybe then you get down to 140 postprandial just by that simple change in portion size. Okay. And now, okay, maybe I'll just keep it at a quarter cup. I want to stay below 140, 2 hour, whatever your goal is.
Yep.
But now you've made that one change and you extrapolate that over the next 10 to 15 years. of what that does to preserving the health of your pancreas and your metabolic health. And that one change has now had a massive impact on your future health and longevity. So I would say the second one are these continuous glucose monitors.
And just to highlight there a little bit too, I've seen some patients go a little bit higher and just go for a 10-minute walk afterwards. Go for a 10-minute
Yeah,
walk, go do some jumping jacks,
exactly.
go do some air squats. Sometimes that can be enough to lower just 10 or 20 points in a 10-minute period by just getting those GLUT4 receptors up on the muscle. They can pull some of that glucose in and then start to lower the blood sugar pretty simply. So that's an easy change you can make. And then just looking at the inflammation, I had someone the other day just sub out the gluten and put potatoes in instead. Similar carb levels, but their blood glucose was 50 points lower than when they added the
Exactly.
gluten in, because you have the carbohydrate load, the glycemic load, but then you have the inflammatory load that can then create a cortisol adrenaline spike, which then will also mobilize glucose on top of that.
And this is giving individuals a tremendous amount of insight into their own health. You know, conventional doctors, unless you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, they might never look at your CGM data.
No.
There's no reason for them or billable code or anything. So how are you going to make those changes now that are going to help you? First of all, blood glucose actually, and monitoring your glucose is my number one weight loss tool. You know, a lot of people don't associate blood sugar control with weight loss. Exactly.
Yep.
So, you know, for just regular average Joe who wants to keep the pounds off over the long run, keeping the glucose levels in check with a continuous glucose monitoring, it's an awesome lever that we have. And then to your point, you just find these really simple, easy ways to make better decisions. And that is, for me, that's really, you know, longevity is this big buzzword. Everybody's talking about longevity these days, but for me, longevity is just like keep your blood sugar under control and make sure you know what it is. Okay, don't bullshit yourself, like you should know,
Yeah.
and get lots of sleep and move. And so that, you know, these simple changes to me are really at the core of longevity. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
super complicated.
Absolutely. When we look at glucose, we're really just trying to get an indirect measurement of insulin, right? Because the higher glucose
Yes,
is, the more insulin we need to kind of bring it down. Obviously, that could be off if
absolutely.
you're type 1 diabetic. That's not going to be quite the same there, but that's a good kind of indirect kind of measurement. And glucose, if it's too high, creates oxidative stress, can create a lot of inflammation and advanced glycation end products in the small tissues, the capillaries, the brain, obviously, like Alzheimer's and a lot of that. That's all like type 3 diabetes. And then, of course, insulin, making lots of insulin of itself can create all kinds of problems like ovarian cyst, increase cancer growth, increase inflammation, increase blood pressure, metabolic syndrome. So that gives us some really good insight. What's next? What's the next big thing you're seeing a lot of your users use? And also, we'll put some links below to kind of access, and you guys can sign up with Heads Up. We'll put those in the description. What's the next big modality or test?
Um, Good question, Doc. I think we're, if I just look out to the future a little bit, what I'm seeing is, and we integrate every kind of device on the market, every kind of lab test. So we see a lot. Like we integrate 10 or 20 different medical devices into the system, you know, thousands of different laboratory tests. So if I extrapolate out to the future a little bit, Doc, what I'm seeing is more ways for individuals to test at home. So let me give you a few examples of what I mean by that. First of all, there's going to be more of these sensors like the continuous glucose monitor, but sensors that can now start to measure more than glucose. So now imagine you put that CGM patch on and it's measuring continuous ketones, it's measuring continuous glucose, maybe it's measuring continuous lactate. Maybe they start to monitor other things on there, like other metabolites. So I'm seeing a trend towards more of this passive sensor collection data. The reason these continuous measurements are so valuable is because A, you as the individual, you don't have to change your behavior. You don't have to test with like a glucometer or a blood test. It's just happening automatically in the
It's just
background.
there.
It's just there.
But then when
And
you
then
get that data, then that can allow you the awareness to potentially change your behavior. Like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep last night, or this workout was too hard, my HRV dropped, and then it gives you the ability to then have data and now make a better decision with what's coming next in your life.
exactly. So you've got more types of continuous passive data. I think that's just a win because then these apps built on top of the sensors, like you said, they give you these awesome insights. Hey, you're too high, go for a 20-minute walk. Game
Right.
changing insight right there. So simple. Second one is more at home lab testing. Okay, so there's going to be less reasons why you have to go to Quest or LabCorp to get the blood draw. There's more tests that can be done through blood lot. There's even companies coming out where you can take a self-administered vial from the blood at home. And then there's also coming back to Consumer Electronics Show, there's more sensors being implemented into the home. I know this may sound a little silly for a lot of listeners, but there were several companies at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas that were making sensors actually implanted into the toilet bowl. And it's actually doing real-time urinalysis, protein, creatinine, electrolyte levels, hydration levels. So there's going to be more of these things that are just in the home, and you just get more of this instant biofeedback, and you make more of these instant real changes.
Love that. That's really good. Yeah, I want to see a fasting insulin, see like a monitor. I want to see like a growth hormone or a testosterone. That'd be great. Like, okay, my workout, 20, 30 minutes, my testosterone peaked, or I got 9 hours sleep. I went to bed at 10 o'clock versus midnight. What does that look like? That's awesome. Very cool.
And one thing we're seeing a lot, Doc. Go ahead. So the other thing is peptides. Yeah, we're seeing a ton of interest in we're seeing a ton of interest in peptides. There's a lot of chatter out there about what are called these GLP-1 weight loss peptides, Wegovy, Ozempic, these kinds of things. We're seeing a ton of interest in those, and then also we're seeing a lot of interest in other peptides like the growth hormone secretor peptides, BPC. These are really, really powerful compounds that are starting to get increasingly well understood, and we're seeing more and more practitioners on our system who have really, really good protocols to take these peptides and wrap around them all of the other lifestyle changes. So now you've got the glucose in check, you've got your sleep dialed in, and you're starting to wrap a peptide protocol around that. That's another really huge growth area that we're tracking very closely.
Love that. That's awesome. I have patients that come and see me all the time, and Kaiser is notorious for this, but a lot of the insurance companies, you'll go into your portal, and instead of like one page of lab data, you'll literally click, let's say, blood glucose, or you'll click just one lab value, and you get one page. And so you'll have literally 30 pages of lab data that could just be on one page. And I've heard that you guys have kind of expanded and have a transcription service where people can plug in that data and consolidate it. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, well, this actually started when I was working with you, Doc, and I was your patient, and we were trying to monitor all these labs. And you were in Austin, and I was in San Francisco, and I had some of my lab data in the UCSF portal, which is University of California at San Francisco, because they were right next to my house. So I'd go there to get some blood. I had some data in the Quest portal. I had some of my labs in the LabCorp portal. I had some of my labs in the St. Mary's portal. I had some of my labs in the Stanford portal, and then the rest of them were sitting in PDF files and paper. And this is the state of healthcare right now. Even inside of the Kaiser portal, like you said, it's so bad that like you cannot even get a simple trend line of arguably the most important data for your time above ground. So one of the things we do in our software is we make it really easy to get data from all these fragmented places and put it on one trend line. And when I did that for myself, I could actually see back 10, 15 years into my medical history, even though the doctor I've been working with only has 1 or 2 years of information on me. I had another 12 years of data. So we can now reach a point where actually the individual patient is far more educated and empowered on the trends of their body, even than the doctor, because we're giving you ways to have the full story, the longitudinal data. It just doesn't exist. It's kind of mind-boggling, actually, that the industry is still so behind in just basic data presentation.
Unbelievable. Well, so that's amazing that you have this ability now to consolidate it. So someone goes in, they create an account. Is it just they take all their PDFs that they may have saved on their Google Drive or Dropbox and just kind of drag it in and it uploads? How does that all kind of start? How does that process start?
Yeah, let me give you an example. You'd sign in. Okay, you'll have a dashboard.
By the way, just real quick, I can share my screen with you if you want to just show it. Do you have the ability to show it live?
I do. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, let me get you set up. Yeah, you can do that. Just go and I think, do you see the little up arrow button next to the camera? Should be in the middle.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, hit share screen.
Okay, it's got to allow me to give permissions to Google Chrome. Hold on a second. Later.
Perfect.
Let's see if this works. It wanted me to restart Chrome, Doc, but let me see if I can just give it a go. Can you see it?
There it goes. Yep, there it goes. Perfect.
All right, so let's take a look. So the first
Great.
thing you'll notice is you want to start tracking on your dashboard. You can see I've got my Dexcom sensor connected here. These are all
Nice.
of my glucose measurements coming in. I'm also tracking certain supplements and medications. So you can see this is the dose I'm taking of my weight loss peptide. You have ways to track symptoms, whether you've completed your workout, your body composition data. So this is like the stuff you measure at home. Then you have the labs. That's what you were asking about. Let me show you how that works. The first thing you can do is connect your portal. So you gave the example of Kaiser. Okay. So all you'd have to do is come in here and connect your Kaiser portal, not unlike you'd connect your bank account to like QuickBooks, for example, or Mint.com. You connect
Yep.
your portal here, and then what we do is we pull all of that data in and we put it on one beautiful trend line. So you can see here's my cholesterol
Love it.
going from.
Absolutely love it.
So this is, you can see this was my results, Doc, from last month. I was 150. And I can go all the way back to 2000. Sorry, this was the oldest. That's 2005. So in 2005, I was at 150. That's how far back I can go. And then September, when was this? 9/3/2021. I'm at 196 on my most recent reading. So me as the individual, I've now got 16 years of history. These are all coming from different patient portals and labs and everything like that. So
Nice.
you connect your patient portal, and then if you have PDF files, all you have to do is upload those PDF files, and we'll transcribe them so they show up on your chart. So now
Got
we're
it. So
giving
just
you
that little
full
file tab,
agency.
just that file tab, and then you can just literally throw them in there.
File, upload, and then we have a team that will key them into your account. Why does that matter? Because now you're not looking back through 3 different doctor portals and 14 PDF files to see the trend in your triglyceride levels. Like, it should just be right there at your fingertips. That's the
And
most
by the way, I was
important
looking at your
data.
labs. Those HDLs were going up real nice. I like that.
Hey, I'm lifting heavy, Doc. I keep a really, really tight, low carb,
Good fast,
Paleolithic
probably,
diet.
right?
Occasional keto, I'll do a 72-hour fast, maybe like
Nice.
3 times a year, and lifting, working out, doing cardio, doing all the things, and I use that data to make sure that everything I'm doing is working. And like each year I get older, my labs and everything just keep getting better,
Getting better.
and that's the
I
way it
love
should
that.
be.
I love that. So people can plug in their Aura Ring there. Imagine their Fitbit too.
Oura
Not an
Ring,
issue.
Libre, Dexcom, Fitbit, Withings, everything's in there. Plus, you get all your labs in there as well. That's when you can see
Great.
the full story of your health.
And that was pretty simple. Just that lab tab on the left, click it, and then you can drag it in and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit more. You're talking about the peptides for weight loss. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, as you know, Doc, traditionally, if you're dealing with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, for example, the standard of care is to use something like metformin or insulin or something like that. But now they have the peptides that have come out. They're actually called GLP-1 peptides.
GLP-1. Is that the
Yeah,
same
and
as Ozempic?
that's exactly what it
Ozempic's.
is. Yeah. And so these work on the insulin pathways, the SIRT1 pathways that really control metabolic health. And so what you're able to do is when you're on peptides, it is actually able to increase your postprandial glucose, which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but after
Yeah.
you eat, it's able to quickly make sure that all of the glucose is quickly utilized. And then when it's not a postprandial situation, it's able to actively suppress appetite. It works on the signals that control and regulate hunger and appetite. So you're actually able to get some significant appetite reduction, and it's working on the insulin pathways. All of those things that allow you mentioned it, the GLUT4 receptors,
Yeah.
basically, to get supercharged and to get super activated. And that's the pathways that it works on. So they work extremely well for weight loss. And then what you do is as you go on these peptides, as your appetite gets reduced, you start to make healthy lifestyle changes as well. You start getting more ability to exercise. You start getting better quality sleep. The pounds start coming off. The inflammation starts coming down. You're able to work out more. You start having more energy. And then at some point, you're able to transition off, keep all of those healthy lifestyle changes that you've made, and start to maintain a very, very healthy body composition and metabolism for the long haul. So they're extremely effective when they're combined with the right protocol. I want to emphasize that because too many people use them without the right protocol and they're not going to get the right result.
And so, with you, what's your experience? How long have you been doing that for? Obviously, you're already doing a lot of good things from your health, from an inflammatory,
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory, nutrient density standpoint. How long have you been
Yep.
doing it? And have you seen any benefits?
I tested these products personally because that's just part of our mantra here at Heads Up. We test everything. So what I did, Dr. J, for my personal experiment is I did 12 weeks of semaglutide, which is
Yeah,
the
Ozempic.
GLP-1.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the things you can also stack with these peptides, because you know quite well, Doc, as you lose fat, inevitably some muscle is going to come along for the ride. So
Hmm.
I wanted to lose fat, but not lose muscle. It depends at your starting point. If you're starting where you're very, very overweight, a lot of people who are overweight, they actually do still have a lot of muscle mass. So they don't necessarily need to worry about losing lean mass initially. So you can just start with the GLP-1 peptide. So I did that for 12 weeks. I also stacked it, Justin, with the growth hormone peptides, which are called CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. That actually allowed me to increase my muscle mass while I was losing body fat. And then I got all of my blood work run before and after I did the experiment. I actually had the best labs I've ever seen in my entire life. Cholesterol, HDL, LDL, triglycerides, insulin, HbA1c. They were as good or better as the numbers when I was 25 years old.
Wow. And so, can you repeat the peptides? So you were doing the Ozempic. What were the other ones?
The semaglutide,
Some.
and
Yep, that's the
I
Ozempic.
stacked I stacked it with CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. Those are growth hormone stimulator peptides. They stimulate your pituitary to secrete your own growth hormone. So you're not taking exogenous growth hormone. Your body is just being
Right.
signaled to make more.
Right.
And then I
Exactly. Yep.
also added into the stack another peptide called BPC 157,
Yep.
which
That's
is
for
a
the gut, right?
general, yes, for the gut. And I
Yep.
used that. I was lifting at the gym, so I was lifting about 3 times a week, heavy strength training. I did before and after DEXA scans, and I did before and after labs. On the DEXA scan, I put on 8 pounds of lean mass in 7 weeks,
Wow.
and the labs that I got back were the best labs I've ever seen. Like all of the cardiometabolic markers were incredible.
Got it. So you're on the BPC 157, the Somorelin
Yep.
one, which is a secretagogue that works on growth hormone. BPC 157, I know, helps with gut repair, gut permeability. I've seen that. And then you have
The
the
growth hormone ones, very specifically, Justin, were CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. Those are two different growth hormone peptides. They're
two
typically
different ones.
packaged together. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Any side effects you experience at all so far?
One of the side effects potentially with semaglutide is nausea and constipation and fatigue. So you
That's
really
just a
have to
once a
start
week, right? Just a once a week injection.
once a week subcutaneous injection. So you have
That's
to work
easy.
with a medical professional, and they're going to help you start at a small dose, and then each week you titrate up to your maximum dose. And the maximum dose is going to be different for everybody. That's why you need to carefully track your symptoms and work with a professional, and they'll get you to that max dose, and then you'll sustain. It'll take a while. You'll get to your goal weight. And in that period, you make all the dietary and lifestyle changes you need to make. And then you slowly titrate off. And then you just stay at that new equilibrium point that you've created for yourself.
That's great. And what's the best way to get a script for some of these peptides if you're already healthy and you're looking more on the biohacking side?
There's places you can go online where they'll do a prescription for you online.
That's cool.
One site you can check out is Ageless RX. There's others out there, and that would be the easiest way to do it. If you just want to go like bypass and just get it online. There's companies that can do the telemedicine consultation for you online and get you
That's
the
great.
script. It's
That's very
expensive.
cool.
Don't get me
Yep.
wrong. Like it's only covered by insurance. On the on-label applications are certain classes of obesity, type 2 diabetes. So there's a few FDA-approved conditions where insurance will cover it. So if you can get it covered, it's better. If you're a biohacker and you just want to test it, then you got to go online to one of the telemedicine sites.
Interesting. Well, very cool. I love that you're kind of incorporating all of this data into one place, which is great. So when you're working with people
Yes.
like me, it's very easy for me to come in there and look at it. By the way, how do you share it? If someone's plugging all this in, they're going to reach out to someone like myself. How do they share it with a practitioner?
Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can have a practitioner account and you can invite other people in, and then they'll be able to monitor at home, and you'll be able to remotely coach them on the data. If you're just an individual, you just go to the website, you sign up, and you start accessing it that way.
Very good. Excellent. I'll put a sign up link here down below. People want to reach out and connect. I'll put that down below so everyone's got it. Dave, anything else you want to leave with the listeners here?
No, I just want to say that it's great to reconnect with you, Justin. You've been following our journey since the very, very early days, way back when I was writing my first lines of code. So
Yes.
fast forward here, many years later, you're still doing your thing. I'm still doing my thing. So it's just always a pleasure, my man.
Yeah, I remember you took like what 3 or 6 months off of work and did one of those like coding things, like coding boot camps, and you literally were able to bootstrap this, even though you don't have a coding background, which is quite admirable.
Yeah, I learned how to write software, and well, I
That's
was always
great.
working in engineering roles, but I wrote
Yeah,
the prototype for this myself, and then I had to get some smarter people on board to help me do it properly.
love it, man. Well, that's great. You're an inspiration. Very cool. Put a link down below, justinhealth.com/heads up, heads up health. Put the link down below so you guys can see it. Dave, anything else you want to leave the listeners with? Any other coordinates you want to give to reach out or connect?
No, I think that's fine. You can find us at headsuphealth.com. Our support email is there, and if you want to reach me, you can access the support alias, and they'll track me down.
Love it. Awesome, Dave. Well, very cool. Let's be in touch soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Bye.